Oh, did not have my mic on there. Hey, welcome to episode 11 of Coffee with the Dead. I am your host, 𝕬𝕬𝕤. Tonight we do not have an interview, but all's good. I have been getting some questions from you guys, which is quite lovely. Keep sending them in, and like tonight, maybe some of those questions will turn into an episode. We have aura photography up for discussion tonight. So if you would like to participate in that conversation, feel free, join the YouTube chat. It's live chat if you're watching this stream, rather than having it play in the background or whatever, which is totally cool. And we have a call-in number also if you would like to call in, but I'll let you know about that because, oh wait, there's the number. I thought I lost my sticky note. So that call-in number is 443-267-8217. And let me go ahead and open that line. So we have a couple things going on. We still have face masks available in the Teespring store. We have those new t-shirt designs, those fanny packs, which those are my favorite. I mean, they turned out really cool. So, all right, phone line is now open. I want to say good evening to David Christopher, Sergeant Poodlepants, and Lady Liz. Also to my Patreons, Lisa Rambo, Chris Geyser, and Haven Van Heusen, if you guys are listening tonight. Hi. About that Patreon, if you would like to sign up, I know I say this on every episode, but as we continue to gain traction and whatnot, I'll eventually stop talking about it less. But while we're still building the fan base and everything, I'll probably talk about it every episode. We have 6 different tiers that you can join. You can sign up for. The cheapest is $5 a month, and that is called the Shadow tier. And that gives you access to all my blog posts, all of my VIP, might as well be VIP right now, right? All of my EVP findings, and also full-length videos rather than the cut-down portions that will be posted publicly. So, for example, a little while ago, I went to Point Lookout Lighthouse, which is the oldest lighthouse in the country, and I posted the entire walkabout. I think it was like over an hour long, and the point of that was just for the Patreons there to be able to go through the video, see if they saw anything strange or heard anything strange, and obviously report back to me. And it's kind of a community project that way. That's the point of Patreon for me, is to find, start, build, maintain spooky paranormal community projects, over the web. Again, I know it's labeled as a monthly contribution, but it is not a commitment. I mean, I would appreciate it if you could commit, obviously. Who wouldn't, right? Who wouldn't appreciate that, because it's money every month. But regardless, like, if you want to sign up for 1 month and just get the benefit and then never sign up again, or maybe just skip a couple months and then sign back up and see what you've missed over those couple of months and just catch up with everything, and then, cancel again. Like, I don't care. It's just, I think it's fun. I try to make it fun. I try to make it informative, and I try to obviously make it something that you want to be subscribed to every month. I know it costs money, so that part sucks for, anybody who doesn't want to spend their money. Like me, I'm really cheap. So honestly, like me, I'd sign up for Shadow level because I'm cheap, but I want to support, so I'll do the bare minimum just to support. Whatever, I'm lame, right? But that's okay. Like, I really appreciate it. And there's rewards that come with every tier. There's tier level benefits. Like, I gave you the ones for the shadow tier. There's, like, Spectre. There's Apparition. It goes all the way up. Like, there's Phantom, I think. I don't remember what the other ones are without actually looking at it right now. But with a contribution level increase, obviously the rewards increase. I think one of them, I'll write you your own personal spooky poem about you. So I'll be like, Joe is a human. Joe likes the dead. Something. I make it cute though, nothing serious because that's boring. So that's one of the benefits. Oh, you get a coffee with a dead mug. You get at one point in one of the tiers, you actually get to design your own piece of coffee with the dead merchandise that I will put up in the Teespring store. Let's see. I'll just pull it up right now. How about that while I'm talking about it? And I'll just read everything to you. David's asking what the top level's called, so I will let you know as I painfully try to log in right now. This is ridiculous that it's not saving. Wow, well, we will continue with Facebook. How about that? So, who left? I don't have 3 Patreons anymore. See, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you don't have to stay if you don't want to. You can just do a one-time thing and it's all good. So, let me see. Who do we have? Oh, that's... I don't know who... Okay. Okay, so I have 3 Patreons currently. However, the number on the main page is still saying 2. I'm sorry. That is weird. All right. Oh, okay. I see what happened. Very good. Very good. The tiers are, I'm sorry, I honestly kind of just let this do its own thing because there's not much activity over here yet. So the tiers are, if I can even find where all this crap is. I'm sorry, I should know better. Let's see, benefits. Yeah, there is some construction tonight. I'm sorry about that. We are putting in a new floor. Well then. Let's see, so like I said, go ahead and prepare your questions if you're interested in aura photography. And here in a few minutes I will start on that topic. It would help if I wasn't actually in the editing part. So the tiers are as follows. $5 per month is the shadow tier, and you get a thank you on an episode of Coffee with the Dead. I've been actually trying to thank my Patreons every month because there's 3 of them, so they're easy to remember, and why not? Every month that they're contributing, they should be thanked because that's awesome. The next tier is EVP. Now it's $10 a month, and you get thanked, and you also will be sent a personal thank you email. For $25, you are an orb, and you get the last 2 benefits, plus your name will be in the credits of each episode. AKA, whenever somebody signs up for that tier, I will have to make a credits page, obviously. And then your name will be there. Your name on Patreon. So if you have like some goofy name like Popsicle Freak, then like it's gonna say Popsicle Freak in the credits. $35 is an apparition. You get the above 3 benefits, plus I will ship you a Coffee with a Dead logo mug for free, obviously. For $50 a month, you are a phantom, and you get the last 4 benefits, plus you will have a personalized poem written by me for you, snail mailed to your house in paper, on paper. And the last tier is for $100 a month. You are a specter. You will get the above 5 benefits, plus you'll get to create an episode of Coffee with the Dead. So I changed that. It was you get to create a piece of merchandise, but I figured if you're going to, if you want to pay $100, you should create a whole episode. Okay, so that is all of the tiers. Okay, so if there are any other questions about Patreon, let me know. Yeah, a personal poem. So David, you're asking about that. So I write poems. It's my thing. I do it over on the Facebook page Life Sucks Sometimes, and I post whiny emo crap from when I was a teenager, and all the way up through like stuff that I write on the fly and just post, whatever. So I have a ebook of poetry on Amazon Kindle right now. It's all messed up though, like the formatting is a mess and stuff. So I have to work on that, but it's there. It's 99 cents unless you're on Kindle Unlimited, and then it's free. I should really clean it up, but every now and then I sell a copy. I just don't get it printed because the paperback and the hardback, like, I had a friend who actually got the paperback version of my book. It did not print right. Like, I guess there's some kind of like editing or that I didn't do. I don't know. I'm the Kindle self-publisher application is just, it's very user-friendly, but I guess there were just some things that were a little too technical for me when it came to the paperback and hardback books. But the Kindle version is fine. There's no formatting issues with that though. So 99 cents, and you can Kindle Unlimited, it's free. So if you go to Amazon.com and you type in Life Sucks Sometimes, scroll down a bit. It's a gray cover with white writing that says Life Sucks ... sometimes, and the bottom it says written by the author is M.S. M.S. So David, do you already follow the page then, because you say that what you've seen of my poetry was worth reading? I don't post it on my Patreon page or anything, so I'm just curious if you already follow me over there. Meh. Alright, let's see. So, like I said, if you want to talk about or have any questions about or photography, you can give me a call at 443-267-8217. And I said that really, really fast. So 443-267-8217. That's the call-in number. Also, just go ahead and drop your questions in the YouTube live chat. or email me later on, paraann@cwtd.co, or hit me up on Facebook. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, Steven. Yeah. I always forget that you use a different name on here. So, all right. Yeah, I do know that you follow me there. Thanks. So, this episode is actually for Lisa Rambo, who we interviewed a couple weeks ago. It was in July, right? I think it was the weekend, the second weekend in July, right? It was the one after the 4th of July weekend. She is interested in and also has received a message from Spirit saying that she should look into spectrogram, right? So she told me about this, and I was like, oh yeah, spectrograph photography, right? So and that's aura photography also. So it uses like a spectrograph to read your aura and produce these really cool images. I'll put a link up to my source material in show notes after broadcast, but I am using artsy.net. They have an article on there that talks all about the history of aura photography, and they have some examples also. Oh, hey Lisa, you're in. Hey, I was just introducing this episode as it being all for you. So, good timing. So, David, can you define what an aura actually is for this? Yeah, so exactly, that's how this starts. So, you hear aura photography and you're like, yeah, what is that? So, the aura is our energy field that is all around us. It's what we project from our bodies, it's the energy that we emit. And it emits itself in these layers of colored, hazy light, almost like a fog, right? Now, I've seen auras that are sometimes very crisp and clear. I mean, it looks like somebody just like an ink stain around somebody. Sometimes the edges are smooth, sometimes they're spiky, sometimes they're round, sometimes there's parts detached. Sometimes the colors are mixed together. It's just energy and how it's displaced. So, now I've worked the aura a lot in my Reiki practice. So I'm Reiki Usui. I said that completely. Usui Reiki, level 2 certified. And through that, each time you graduate up to the next level, you get an attunement. So I got my initial attunement before I started level 1. Then I got my attunement from level 1 to level 2. And then I got my attunement graduating me from level 2. After my first attunement, like, something happened. Like, it just, like, woke up my third eye, or it woke up another part of me. I guess my third eye was already kind of open anyway, because just from, like, having, other paranormal experiences and, like, doing these tarot readings and, things. But, I mean, it's like my eye was half open and now my eye's, like, being pinned, like, completely open, like I have this, like, third eye that can see 360 all of a sudden after my attunement. And I started to see aura trails. So what those are is, like, objects in motion. So, like, as a person's walking by, like, so I was volunteering to work at the local ball stadium, and I had an outdoor table, and I was just selling t-shirts and stuff, and, this woman was walking by, and I just saw, like, this, like, smoky, like, fart trail, like a gas trail, basically, like, behind her, and it was, like, it was, like, just her entire back, the whole length of her back, okay? Not like her whole body or anything, but just as she walked, like, it was coming out of her back, and it was just this stream of green light, and it came to a point at the end, so it was almost like a horizontal teardrop. And I was like, wow, that was really intense. And I wasn't even thinking about, like, meditation or spiritual practices or chakras or my Reiki classes. I was literally just like, it's hot and I want to go home. And, I was like, I wish I would sell out of these raffle tickets so I could leave. I was a teenager, you know, I was just whatever. And poof, just this like green, really intense green. And it was the most beautiful thing I ever saw. And it was on this woman. She had like blonde dreadlocks, and you know, she was a little alternative looking herself, and she was just like emitting all this color. And I was like, oh my god, that is like so beautiful. Um, Now it doesn't happen as often, you know. I more casual with my Reiki practice. You know, I'm not in classes anymore. I'm not using it every day. So a lot of those skills kind of like, they're not as, uh, when you don't use a skill as often, it's not as, you know, powerful. You know, I mean, you still have the skill, but it's not going to be like super, like, out of the blue seeing auras anymore. Now, since you don't use the skill every day, you have to actually like focus and try to see it, you know. um so uh Dave is asking, living and deceased both emit an aura, or is the aura different from with the living? So in my research experience, you know, and experience and everything, the aura is your energy from a living being. So a deceased being would not emit an aura. However, there are some instances where inanimate objects emit an aura. Uh, not necessarily related to a haunting. There doesn't have to be any kind of paranormal activity going on, but some objects like wood, stone, your organic materials, they can hold energy. Some hold them longer than others. Some never release all of the energy. But say like if I had a crystal, you know, and I held that crystal every day, you know, it was in my hands, and I was charging it. That was like my rock, you know, it was always on my body. When I set that down, the energy that I put into that rock that I charged it with is going to emit from it, right? So if I have, you know, my piece of amethyst or something, and I'm like holding it, and I'm just like pouring out all of my bad vibes, you know, my crappy day, my worries, my doubts, all my negative into this, you know, amethyst, right? I feel better because I get that off my chest. I get that out. But when I put the amethyst down on the table, me or another person, you know, looking at it might see blacks and grays and browns and like sludge around it. Or when they pick it up, they might feel like all that negativity, or it might be cold. But the longer I let that amethyst sit, the less vibrant, the less intense, the less fewer colors, you know, that I'm going to see. And the less like electrified that amethyst is going to feel when I pick it up. So that's really important to know. If you do charge like your crystals or inanimate objects, like I could take a tube of lip gloss. I could take this lip gloss here and I could pour all my negative into this. It doesn't matter. It's just for that kind of like to have a thing, you know? It doesn't matter what it is. It really, really doesn't. Of course, I mean, I wouldn't want to use this because this is my lip gloss. So every day when I put this on, it's like I'm taking that negativity back into me. So this would be better to charge with like positive, right? Or like a beauty enchantment or something. But all I'm saying is it does not have to be crystals or rocks or any quote unquote witchy crap. Like you can hold a clump of cat hair. Like it's just like a mental thing to be able to physically see the thing, you know, and transfer your energy. So it's important to know that that can be any object. I mean, like if the room feels heavy and you're like, I don't know why. It is all the objects. It's everything, you know. So setting that piece of amethyst down on the table, that is now oozing the negative energy out into the entire room, and it's coating every object, every person, every surface with that energy. Okay, so if you are charging an object with negativity, you need to put it in a box, close it off, seal it airtight, make sure nothing, that energy cannot escape. And when you go to open it, you open it outside, or you open it in a you protect yourself and then open it, and then you cleanse the room afterwards, the whole room. But that's something to remember. That's how auras work. Okay, so when I'm in the room, for example, let's say, and someone else comes to sit with me and they're like, oh, being around you, there's just something about your energy, it just makes me feel so happy. That's my aura. Okay, it's electricity, it's our own EMF fields, and other people can pick up on that. And that's why we give some people certain emotions without saying or doing anything. But just like that amethyst, our energy is coming out and it's coating the room, coating every surface, coating every object, So it's important to understand, sometimes it's not you. It might just be someone else, or it might just be, that someone negative was in that space before you. And, you don't, a lot of people, aren't in the spiritual practices, and they don't know, they're not aware of the aura, and they have no idea what their impact can have on an environment that they're in. So then comes aura photography. People became interested in seeing what we're all about and believing that there's more to human existence than the physical eye can interpret. So, Dave, I hope that answered your question. Hi, Marty. So green can mean a lot of things. I'd really would have had to have sat with that woman a little more intently, because green could mean greed. It could mean that she was really happy and had a streak of good luck. It could mean that there was an organ, in her body, like a diseased organ. It can represent maybe she was in a period of detox, and that those were the toxins coming out. It depends. I mean, if you think about the auras, the chakras, right? You got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, violet, and white, if you believe in the eighth. So the green would relate to, let's see, you got red on your root, orange on your sacral, yellow on your sternum, orange on your chest, green on your throat, right? Blue is like kind of like this area, mouth, face area, right? Purple is your third eye, violet is your head chakra, and white is spirit. Okay, so also if you read it in relation to the chakras, you would say maybe it's something to do with her throat because it was green, right? It could be maybe the organ, maybe she was having thyroid issues, because that's the organ in your throat, or maybe she just had a cold, or maybe, who knows, maybe it was, but, or maybe she was just really positive, using her voice for positivity. It just shows green is healthy, it's a good color, so if you're looking at it and you're using the chakras again, you could say that meant that her throat chakra was very in line, very healthy, very clear, very open. But like I said, there's other factors to take into account. So, I don't know without actually interacting with her. But it's a good indicator sometimes, like if you see like a warning color around somebody, like if someone sits down and like they're just surrounded in black, that's not a good first impression. Let's see, any other questions? So, Um, yeah, Kirlian photography is something that's going to come up. So that was actually a coined term. I only came around like in the 40s. Yeah. So yeah, it doesn't have to be a haunting for an inanimate object to have an aura. But ghosts and auras. No, not really. They kind of leave a psychic imprint. Like they leave like an energy stain, which I've talked about a lot. But that energy stain usually just comes out in an EMF reading. I haven't really seen colored auras from from an entity, and if I do, it's usually just like white or gray, um, sometimes black, but they're colorless, so they will emit shades, but it's like white, gray, or black, and the black is more common, really. It's like it could be upset, it could be depression, it could be anger, it could be evil also. A gray is usually like someone who died with unfinished business, and the white, that's usually just someone who either doesn't know they're dead and they're just hanging around and still perfectly happy, or like innocence, like a child, or someone who died with and the death was out of their control. You just die of natural causes, or things like that. No benevolence surrounding your death. Um, yeah. So yeah, it was like a lime green, Lissa. Yep. Yeah. So your aura will change depending on your emotional state, 100%, because that's how your energy flows, and based on where your energy is blocked or flowing most heavily will impact the brightest color that is seen. So, so this article that I'm referencing tonight is called "The Colorful and Clairvoyant History of Aura Photography," and it is on artsy.net. I'll put a link in show notes afterwards. And it's really interesting. It has a couple of good pictures. Some of these photos, I mean, like the aura from the people is like so overwhelming that like the person is almost just fogged, like it goes over the person. But I've also seen ones where it literally like just outlines the person's body. So let's see the history of all of this. It starts back in the Victorian era, actually. The environment was primed with technological advancements in the field of photography, and a process called wet collodion process is what made like the developing of photos more publicly able, more popular and whatnot. So Franz Anton Mesmer's 18th century theory is that all animate and inanimate things were charged with a quote-unquote vital fluid. Okay, and he also claimed that his hands secreted invisible energy that allowed him to tap into this universal flow. A lot of people believe the hands are like a major energy portal. And it's like one of our most visible chakras is like the palm of our hand, right? It's a huge space. So you think about that when you see in movies when people just like shoot beams of light out from their hands and stuff. It's just such a powerful like point of force. And with this theory that Franz was talking about, it's kind of what I was saying before. It's that animate and inanimate objects have energy in them. It doesn't necessarily have to be a living thing, but something that has been touched by can then emit. So, and then it bled over into the occult world during this time also. And this is still in the Victorian era. And, they were inspired by Franz's theories, but they took it into, of course, their own interpretations, from their school of thought in the occult. And they were like, oh, well, then maybe we can find proof of the afterlife. And so in the 1860s, Austrian chemist Karl Ludwig Freiherr von Reichenbach, it's one of those, right? Like 5 names to a person. No, 4 names, but he began photographing objects in total darkness. He thought that way he would be able to see this energy that Franz was talking about, and also kind of inspired from the occultists as well, who were after capturing photographic proof of ghosts. And he called this energy OD. It says his work marked the outset of effluvist photography, which is a subset of Victorian occult photography and the progenitor of today's 𝕽𝕚𝕤𝕚 or photography. Okay, so this is what modern day aura photography started out as, kind of a Franz and occult mixture, right? Trying to capture energy, not necessarily, they use all these loose terms from, Franz called it vital fluid. Then the occultists, they called it ghostly forms. And then, Karl Ludwig Freiherr von Reichenbach called it OD. And then finally today it's now called aura photography. We have simplified things and taken the French out of it altogether. But in 1895, Wilhelm Conrad Roentgens, very complicated language here with all kinds of marks over the letters. I'll let you read it for yourself. So after he discovered the X-ray, and at that point, it kind of underpinned the efflusivist photography, and offered radiographic equipment, and so now you could see things that were otherwise invisible, right? More so just things that are inside. I wouldn't say that the things X-rays can see are invisible, like the aura is invisible, but you can see through, right? You can see through less solid matter and see the solid that's inside. And this, was bringing science into the field of the effluvist photography. And just before the turn of the century, physician Hippolyte Baraduc and soldier Louis Darget utilized the technology to document vital fluids, again, there's that term, by pressing subjects' fingers or foreheads onto sensitized photographic plates. Okay, this is how aura photography is done today. Your hands are put on plates that are connected to little diodes and wires and thingies that basically just read the electronic outputs. Okay, so your own EMF field. And then that is ran through an algorithm, and based on that algorithm, the output reflects your supposed aura. So it's almost like, depending what frequency you emit, or vibrate on, as I always say, will determine the colors and shapes and things and patterns in your aura. So this is using science for a very non-scientific theory. Okay. I mean, there's something going on to cause these effects in the photographs, but there's no scientific proof that we have auras. This is just a spiritual theory. This is just an ideal that we have held for centuries. No. Yeah. No, sir, David. There's not going to be a pop quiz. So, where was I? Yeah, so, yeah. Now, they started out, 𝕬𝕤𝕤 and ℍ𝕬𝕤𝕤, just by using the person's fingers on these plates. Nowadays, they're like flat, like rectangular metal plates, and you put your whole palm, your whole hand on there. Now, they believed that these images were keys to perceiving health, mood, or even the thoughts. So now we're going into like a psychic realm of the person being photographed. So this later became known as a predecessor to thoughtography. Okay, so photographing your thoughts. Who established that? ℏ𝕬𝕤𝕤, who established that. He was a well-known, very popular psychic at the time. The imprinted photographic forms inadvertently advanced the field of abstract photography. Okay, so there's the umbrella. Okay, it's abstract photography, and that's how they justify it. So now I'm like, well, abstract photography. Well, now it just sounds like an art form, right? So, it even inspired actual artists, like 𝕊𝕦𝕡𝕡𝕠𝕜. Okay, so this is still in the late 1800s. This is going, all of this has happened, okay? And remember, this started in 1895 with the discovery of the X-ray, and then boom, all these other photographic methods, came out, and by the end of it all, they had coined the term abstract photography. So that was a big step forward, right? And then we kind of slow down after that. There aren't many more advancements. Everyone's like, okay, we've tweaked this, we've established the process, we've given it a name, we have clients, so we're just gonna keep doing it. No need to change. We're going to keep analyzing, and we'll have different methods for analyzing, but the actual method of photography, I think this is good. We're getting results, so we're going to stick with this. And so, occult and radiography became kind of like business partners. They started to mesh. They started to have their own little gray area there where there was some overlap all of a sudden. Okay, but there's science being used. Okay, but on a non-scientific phenomena. In 1910, a painting by Marcel Duchamp called "Portrait of Dr. 𝕬𝕤𝕤" depicts Duchamp's childhood friend, a medical student in radiology, with an otherworldly light emanating from his hands. The radiance evokes the halos surrounding hands in paintings of saints or effluvist photographs. So, when you see the pictures of someone in prayer, and there's like the gold light around their hands to show that they have that connection with God. So that was actually depicted in this portrait, but it's in colors of the aura. So you can see this picture when you go to artsy.net. Again, like I said, I'm posting the link. But there's like hot pink, there's blue, there's white, red, there's like a seafoam green. It's all kinds of colors. And this is, so they show Now, this Lisa, this is where the Kirlian photography starts to be toyed with. So it's a Kirlian photo of male fingertips in 1989, and it's like energy, like fingerprint, right? Like the black hole that's in this image is where his finger was pressed down, and then there's like light spikes coming out from around it. Now, that's just as an example of how this started to develop. Okay, remember, we're still actually in 1910 right now, okay? Historically, with the portrait of Dr. 𝕬𝕠𝕠𝕜. But I just want to let you know, Lisa, like, we are building up to that Kirlian photography discovery. So, meanwhile, still in 1910, in Russia, experimentation with components of radiographic devices gave rise to electrophotography. So we started to kind of mention this a little bit in, the late 1800s with, using the plates, putting your fingertips on the plates connected to like electric diodes that would then just read your EMF output, right? So now we got the term electrophotography floating around in Russia, concurrently with this portrait in 1910 coming out. It says, and it has been the basis of aura photography today. So kind of like what I was saying when I was bringing this topic in, it's definitely like it's electricity, right? It's pretty much looking at like, if you overcharged or used the wrong voltage in an outlet, how it would spark. So that spark is what's being photographed in these types of images. When we touch that metal plate with our fingertips or our hands, that whatever energy, whatever electricity is discharged, that's like, that's when the flash goes off, it's like you touch and then poof, it's like that. And we know the body is, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 80 or 90% water, I think? And we are a conductor of electricity. That's why we have to ground ourselves if we're walking around barefoot and it starts lightning, right? Rubber shoes or just go inside. But we are a conductor. We are an electric conductor. We're our own I say we're an electro battery, but whatever. Yeah, so David, you're saying light waves at different frequencies are interpreted by the brain as colors, so that makes sense that vibrating at different frequencies would create different aura colors. Yes, those light waves are what I'm talking about when I say like the frequency that's read on those plates when we touch whatever, because our electric pulses, our own EMF field hitting those plates, it's charged and just there's our spark, which is like poof, and whatever color we poof at or whatever frequency we poof at correlates to a color in the spectrum of all colors. You ever see those color bars that are shown for like LUTs when you're shopping for new lights, or if you're doing graphic design, you might deal with LUTs a lot, or even for my setup, like these lights that I have, they're set at different LUTs, different levels of brightness. But if you look, they're on any website talking about LUTs or graphic design or anything, there's this like long rectangular bar, and it goes all the way from like black to white, and it has a frequency number associated all along, and it's really small. I mean, there's just like hundreds of them, right? And you can break it down really, really small, or you can see it on a broader, more like breaking it down by shade rather than frequency, right? But at any rate, yes, that's similar, right, to what I'm saying, David. For the visible spectrum, is 𝕍𝕚𝕤𝕚. Yes, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet. Exactly. And white, I believe white's in there too because that's the spirit when you talk about the chakras. But that bar that I'm talking about goes from the ultraviolet, like invisible light, X-ray, all the way up, the whole gamma, right? But there are frequencies associated with all of those colors and shades and everything, and for each spectrum, the visible, invisible, X-ray, infrared, ultraviolet, all that. Yeah, eighth. Yeah, white is the eighth. Yep. So, right. So, David, that is what I'm saying. I'm saying that whatever pulse, we vibrate at, quote unquote, whatever our own EMF field is, whatever number that is on the spectrograph dictates what color our aura is. So, you could even almost determine what your aura looks like or draw your aura just based off of getting those frequencies. If you were able to, put your hands on those plates and just view the data output before the photograph was even developed, just see the data that's outputted from those metal plates that your hands are touching, and those numbers being red are going to indicate the strongest frequency to the weakest, and that's going to be the brightest color to the dullest. But the cool thing about the photograph is you can see where those are placed, where they're located, how they disperse around your body. So this is starting to be figured out in 1910 in Russia with electrophotography becoming a thing. And all electrophotography is, at this point, is a combination of occult beliefs, radiographic practices, the science of it, and our man Franz Mesmer's 18th century theory about vital fluid. So everything is still, no one's being forgotten. Nobody's saying that they came first before the other. Everyone's acknowledging they learned from the previous, and we're all just building, from what we already have knowledge of, right? And now we're developed aura photography. Scientist Jacob von Narkiewicz Jodko. Look, when you see how many letters are in that name, you'll understand. That was, but say Narkiewicz Jodko, possibly, believed that electricity was imperative to reveal a subject's vital energies. His photographic process called for an induction coil, which he used to electrically charge a metal plate. When an object or body part was placed on a photosensitive material atop the charge plate, the coronal discharge produced a glowing silhouette, and poof, aura photography, right? So, so now we have a little more insight into the process. So there's a photographic material. Now I'm gonna go into like the way I see this. Okay, so I'm seeing like kind of like how Polaroids are. So I'm seeing like Polaroid material on top of an electronically charged metal plate, and your hands or being placed, on the Polaroid material, or even in bigger uses when you want the whole body, having that material in the electrically charged plate as a behind you on a much larger scale, almost like a film and like a backdrop. So poof, or photography. Then we fast forward about almost 29 years, so almost 30 years, to 1939. Semyon and Valentina Kurlian. Here we see Lisa. I think I said 1940 earlier, but I was off by a year, whatever. Kurlian, a Russian electrical engineer, and his biologist wife independently discovered coronal discharge photography and dubbed it Kurlian photography. Okay, so they probably weren't aware of what was going on in Russia. And they also happened to discover this, though, I mean, it's 30 years later, and they discover this, and they coin it. So Russia missed out. They should have coined it. So like Narkowitz, the Kurlians believed that these photos could provide telling psychic insights, and at that time, gee whiz, color photography was finally commercially available. So we were able to see the colors of the supposed ore that was being photographed. And we started to see the color spectrum that was emitted in these photographs. So we didn't know early on, right, that all these colors were coming out because everything was black and white. So they were able to see the colors. About 19 years later, right, in 1958, their findings were made public. So for 19 years, they were just analyzing and deciding, what was going on with this. So in 1958, they got attention in the West when the book Psychic Discoveries Behind the Iron Curtain was published. And that came out in... So the findings were public in 1958, and the book came out 12 years later in 1970. So, I mean, so think about that. So, 39, almost, 35, 36 years after the initial discovery, they get this book published. That's there you go. I'm not that patient, so good for them. So and now we're in the 70s. So in the new age of the 70s, a Californian entrepreneur named Guy Coggins. He had a background in electrical engineering and a LinkedIn endorsement for chakra balancing. So I didn't know LinkedIn was that old. It's spelled just like the website LinkedIn. So he developed the first camera specifically for aura photography, and he named it AuraCam 3000 to market it in the early 1980s. Later, the AuraCam 6000, which is still used today by folks like Radiant Human and Magic Jewelry, came out. So, it's Kurlian photography. I mean, they created contact prints, that we described, touching the photographic surface that was also touching an electrified plate. Coggins, his AuraCam, used some of those methods to produce instant photographs, linking an instant film camera, like a Polaroid, right, to two charged metal plates containing biofeedback sensors rather than just straight electric diodes. So, and his method, Coggins' method, is very similar. Again, we're going to hear it again. Let's see. Oh, hey, Bishop, you're in. say photographing the dead using Kirlian methods would require getting the dead to cooperate by at least being somewhat in contact with an electrified photographic plate or or a big scientific word that I can't pronounce. Yeah. Well, I think about the best we could do with photographing the dead using the Kirlian photography method or Coggins method or anything would be about as good as our EMF meters do. Just to know that the room had an amplified electrical output. Maybe in a rare case we would be able to see the outline of a person. Kind of like the idea with using a FLIR, a thermal imaging camera. The idea is that any energy will produce a source of heat or coldness, will have some kind of thermal reading, and when using it for paranormal investigation, that we would then be able to capture the thermal imprint of an entity. I have had zero luck with this in investigations, but I have been able to debunk cases of cold spots or footsteps or bumps in the night by finding drafts, finding, incorrect wiring, that was like overheating and clearly a fire hazard. Finding, a hot spot and it ended up being like a rat's nest or draft, if I said that already, and more or less telling the the person, my client, you need some home improvements. You need some maintenance done on this building. This is mostly what experience I've had with a thermal camera, more so than actually detecting any kind of paranormal activity. But for marketing purposes, like, oh my god, I could see that selling if you were like ghost cam or ghost photography, like a DSLR that could capture ghosts, and it was just using Kirlian photography technique. Like, if you use the right keywords, I mean, you could probably sell that. So, back to Coggins now. With his process, the subject places their hands on plates with which register electromagnetic data. Like I was saying, the EMF field of our own bodies. An algorithm then translates specific frequencies into hues predetermined by Coggins and a team of clairvoyants. So there's the lack of science once again. We were talking about using the spectrograph or, the frequencies as they relate to different colors that have been defined by science earlier. All that goes out the window here with Coggins. It's him and a team of clairvoyants that decide what colors the electromagnetic data represents. The first exposure of the image captures the person's likeness, so it's your photograph, and the second one will then superimpose the generated hues. So they take two pictures and just superimpose them. The polychromatic haze, which differs from photograph to photograph, is purported to represent the subject's aura and provide insight into his or her chakric energies. Part spiritual medium and part psychoanalyst, the photographer interprets the clouds to furnish the subject with self-knowledge. So, like, based on what colors are seen, then giving an aura reading, and then giving them insight to themselves. So then doing a quote unquote psychic reading based on the way the quote unquote aura is represented in these photographs. So it's California, it's the 70s. Spiritualism was a thing. I am going to throw my opinion out there now and say, you know, this sounds like hippie occult BS, easily sellable to the gullible hippie mind, and California is still a hotbed for, like, a magnet for this kind of like, nah, everything's cool, everyone's accepted, everything's okay, man, like, laid back energy. When you hear hippie, you just think of like someone in socks and sandals walking down a beach in California, right? I don't know. That's what I think. But this happened. This was a thing. Important mark in history, regardless of how you want to take it. Definitely a lot more on the psychic and medium reading level than than the aura photography that we were looking at with Kirlian photography, or even in the very beginning in the late 1800s during the Victorian era. Okay, now things are going very commercial, very modern, and we're going kind of off the serious wagon a little here, right? Now we're like, let's make it personal and have some fun with this, right? Let's boost our psychic fortune-telling shop's business by offering the 𝕬𝕒𝕚𝕚 6000 photographs. So later on with the 𝕬𝕚 6000 comes Aura Analyzer. Great. It's an update. This is software, okay, and it uses text, which is essentially just ASCII art to play the role of interpreter. So even farther down the let's leave it to random algorithm generator rabbit hole we go. This reminds me of some apps that use an algorithm to output supposed ghostly messages. Like there's a Ghostbox app, Ghost Radar. Now these have their disclaimers that they're just for entertainment, so it's not like I can really discredit them. I freaking love Ghost Radar. It's fun. It really is. But it's just like random words. You just sit there and it's amazing because every 15 seconds or so it's like apple, fire, friend, murder, devastation, birthday, child. So this is kind of what very early versions of that more modern technology coming out with this Aura Analyzer that is now a computer giving that interpretation of the aura photographs versus, well, instead of a psychic medium looking at the picture and interpreting it themselves. All right. So Dave's saying you like that you're way more focused on verifying what is actually going on and being as scientific as possible versus others in the field who might go for the more marketable story. Yeah. Well, and Bishop is saying, I'm surprised there isn't an Aura phone app. Yeah, well, there probably is. I just haven't looked. So, Lisa, you're saying that's hardly lack of science? In response to which statement? So, to carry on with Cogginson's latest innovation, he's still at it. Right? So, and this is called 𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚. It's an at-home aura detector and photography software package using a computer webcam. So this is a DIY or photography software. 𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚, I can only imagine because it's for Windows operating systems. And it uses a proprietary algorithm and biofeedback sensors. Though the ℚ𝕚𝕚 6000, which aligns more neatly with the return of analog photography and the popularity of art experiences in quotation marks, is far more popular than 𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚, Cogninson's latest technology puts aura readings in the hands of the subject. In the age of social media, the person receiving the reading has added a distinct step to the aura photography process, disseminating the image of their chakric reading too quickly, chakric energy online, each one joining thousands of others in Instagram's neat multicolored grid. In contrast to its predecessors, today's aura photography uses an expansive virtual network to capture a collective energy or mood, aptly a shifting picture of our time. So there's an online Instagram community for folks who have 𝕚𝕚𝕚𝕚, apparently. So this doesn't allow you to take other people's photographs from a distance. Anyway, they'd have to actually be in your physical presence in order to biofeedback sensors would need to be connected to you somehow. So there's that. Again, this is on artsy.net. I will leave the link in show notes. Feel free. There's been tons of you in chat tonight. I love it. Thank you so much. If you have any questions and for some reason you're not able to post them in the chat, that number is 443-267-8217. Now, I guess, there could be a phone app, actually, Bishop. I mean, the possibility of creating one exists because most phones have the biorhythm reader or whatever, right? Like Samsung Health has it to get like your heartbeat, and it can even take your blood pressure through your phone, right? It uses like the flash or something. I don't know. Yeah, no, I have not tried taking an aura photograph. I've always found it to be kind of new age BS, but there's ways to more seriously use it, I think, like getting the photograph and then really like looking at what is being photographed here. Like, is it your aura, or are you really just looking at the colors of electricity? So I would take pictures of like all kinds of stuff. I would put like non-electrified objects, like my very popular lip gloss. I would set that there and see, if that produced colors too. Or I put nothing on the plate and take a picture and see what happened. It's something to be toyed with. And I don't think that humans need to be the test subject all the time, because I want to know what's really being photographed. Is it really our auras, or is it, like I said, just the color of electricity, as it relates to that, that the LUTs, like we were saying earlier, the whole spectrum of light. We're just looking at the color of light, how it comes through like a prism almost. So yeah, Bishop, use a coffee with the dead coffee cup as an aura test subject, as well as a coffee with the dead fanny pack, t-shirt, pair of leggings, and cloth face mask. Yes, maybe even combine them and see what happens. Um, so David's asking, has anyone ever seen my aura or claimed to? Only my Reiki instructor has claimed to see it. I think I've seen mine a few times just around my hands. I do that. You do this. There's a concentration exercise that you do where you hold your hands together like in prayer, and you find a point on your fingers to stare at, and you just focus and clear your mind, and slowly pull your hands apart, and the resistance supposedly will get greater as you try to pull your hands apart, almost as if they're two magnets attracting to each other, positive and negative. And through doing this, I've seen colors coming from between my hands, and it kind of stretches out, almost like doing cat's cradle, just the more, or like pulling taffy, the more you pull apart, the more these colors just string out, and the more I pull, the more transparent they become, and the closer my hands, the more vivid or deep colored and clearly divided they are. But as I pull away, they kind of, let's all blur together. Yes, absolutely, David. You are bound to have a good aura while wearing head to toe coffee with the dead apparel. And I am waiting for your picture wearing some of it so that I can post you as one of my models. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I'll also post that link for you. Well, if there are no further questions, that is it for me tonight. I managed to still be on for at least an hour, right? I don't know how long I've been going. Did we have a missed call? No, oh my gosh. So I thought somebody had called, but it's just an advertisement from Staples. Alright, and so we're gonna close the phone line. See, as electricity moves, it creates a magnetic field. Certain equipment could also be picking up on changes in the magnetic field. Exactly. Our EMF meters, our K2 meters, our mil meters, yes. Yes, there are quite a bit. Do you know I've bought one of my EMF meters from Home Depot? So they're not that rare of a find, and they're not they don't have to be bought from like a paranormal supplier. Usually those people charge an extra $10 to $20 just to make it sound like a niche item, and it's just an electrician's tool. So we're gonna go. I'm gonna go. We're gonna go. We're all gonna go. And y'all, if you want, are gonna come with me over to the post-show chat, which will be on the book face, starting here in about 5 minutes or so. And we can continue this, or we can talk about something completely different. I will be doing tarot card readings, angel card readings, and oracle readings. Whatever you want, let me know what you want. All cards are on the table tonight. Just ask me for that. Otherwise, it's going to be whatever comes out of my mouth. So, thanks for watching. And as always, remember, the veil is thin.